And you can bet they'll give it a go today. Look at this, the best riders in the world in the Absa Cape Epic. You know, we did have the world champion, Schurter, in this field not long ago. He's not here, and yet the racing is still so animated and still so competitive. Fantastic to watch them fly off that start line. The starts leave some of those riders at the back, and Daniel Gesmeyer. But that unfortunate sight was of their backup team. So it wasn't those two, Robach or Gesmeyer. It was in fact Jadok Salzman who had stepped in to replace Jochen Kess as Marcus Kaufmann's partner. I'm afraid what he did there, Jadok Salzman, was get onto the start line, roll out of the start chute, which allows Marcus Kaufmann to be part of the race today. So should there be any mechanicals that might happen to Robach and Gesmeyer, then Kaufmann can legally help them. He's not an outcast yet. If he rides tomorrow, he will be, and he cannot contribute. And that scenario has played out before in a very significant fashion last year, in fact, on this very day, I think it was, because the man who was on the receiving end of that, Christoph Sauser, sitting alongside me. Christoph, welcome back. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you, and I'm looking forward to today's action.
Isn't it going to be? Just quickly on that, Howie Grotz was riding last year with Montoya, and then Montoya pulled out. How he started that day with Montoya, he pulled out Montoya on that day, and how he was able to help you guys, I believe.
Yes, but we had to double and triple check the rules,
yes.
And talking with the commissaires, what we are doing is right, and there's no time penalty involved. So Paulo, he just couldn't keep up with the front end. Howie was in super good shape. Obviously, he never got really tested. And then we had to talk with Paulo, and he was more than happy just roll over the start line, and Howie riding with us all the way over Grönlandberg, and it worked out. I had a flat tire. We could change wheel, but unfortunately we didn't make it to the front anymore.
Right. Now we're looking at the early part. This is earlier today. Christoph, I know you've been out there riding. Did you ride any of today?
Yes, I did. I didn't do the first half though, but from Green Mamba more or less all the way to the finish. And this morning I'm just coming back from Green Mamba, seeing the leaders powering over the climb. Very important climb, because after that there's hardly no more passing. It's forever ending. Forever single trail, and we talked with our riders last night, and I told them you have to ride in front over Green Mamba so you can control the race and you're not under pressure in the single trail.
Well, here is a little bit of a movement from Enrique Avancini, and tell you what, the battle for second place. I know that you guys are obviously not yet secure with 7 minutes and 16 seconds, but behind you there are 4 seconds between second and third. It's a real battle there.
Yes, you can see Cannondale is very good today. They're in charge of the race. They really want to get into second. Looks like Canning is struggling a bit. They were off on Green Mamba, just like 15 seconds, but that's a big indication. You're not up to your level to ride with Cannondale.
Well, that's exactly what can happen on these trails, particularly when it's quite tight and tricky there, and you don't want to get yourselves into that sort of scenario. No real damage done there.
It's interesting to see how Rohrbach actually takes his time to get on the bike. You have to go as quick as possible, get your head together, because just passing 20 riders, as you can see here on these images, is quite a long way to try to get to the front again. So whenever you fall, you jump on your bike, especially in a situation like this.
Well, there we go. Chasing back now to catch up is Nicola Rohrbach, exactly what Christoph Sauser has been saying. The Epic Trippers camp not far looks on these climbs.
Yeah, he loves these climbs, especially where you can go out of the saddle. Howie, if you've seen him in other races, wherever you can ride out of the saddle, he basically rides out of the saddle. So he loves this climb, where more the sandy, rockier climbs where you have to sit for ages in that saddle. His legs getting not so comfortable.
Look at the gap starting to open there on the climb. So Cannondale, Canyon and Investec will follow, that's for sure. Buff Scott in there, and the Trek Samarkand boys are there as well, trying to chase back to that group up front.
Bulls won. They were very far off on the Mamba climb, and also Woude. Our prediction is not right. They will come back the last 2 days, maybe even right in top 3. It looks like Rohrbach is struggling quite a bit.
2 Trek Celis and Marco teams in there. Gesmeyer's there. Here's Buff Scott as well. 2 of their teams as well. Now there's a reason this is going a little bit slow here. Something might have occurred. The Bulls, the two of the 3, one of them had gone through a little bit earlier. Klaas and Bauer are through. There we go. Nice to see them coming around that corner in slightly slower motion. Snaking up this climb, slowly but surely making their way up these trails. So a lot of single track today for the riders to deal with.
Especially at the last end. It's almost too much, because it's nice to have a bit of open road, reset a bit, and looking forward to the next single trail section, and also for the race when you can't pass for I would guess more than an hour. You just have like those 10 meters to pass, but if the front guys just record it in a trail and then push on those passing sections, it's pretty much single file riding for such a long time.
Well, Centurion Fowler trying to close the gap there. Just caught a glimpse there of Nico Bell of NAD Pro, as the wonderful skills of his world-class rider. Grotz following Cool Harvey through that little piece of blue gum single track and up onto these vineyard climbs, which are a hallmark of riding in Wellington, Paarl and Stellenbosch area. You're going to get these vineyards on the slopes of the mountains where they grow best and produce these world-class wines, and of course then you get the roads heading up them as well.
The characteristic ground here in Wellington is very baked, hard-packed soil, but on top you have a little layer of little stones, marbles. So it's quite slippery, and you have to brake carefully and also corner carefully.
7 teams I reckon we've got there. Obviously Cannondale Factory Racing, Investec Songo Specialized there, Canyon Topeka there. Buff Scott may have 2 teams in there, I fancy, and look like 2 teams from Trek Celis and Marco. Yes, I can see 3 of their riders in there, and 1, that's Matt Beers at the back there with alongside the e-bike of Stefan Sam. Matt Beers riding for NAD Pro, and here come Centurion Vada trying to bridge across, and on their tail is Nico Bell trying to catch up to Matt Beers, who had a really wretched start of the week. In fact, there was some doubt as to whether he had started at all. He was not well on the day before the race, but he has got the pedigree and the talent to do really well in this event, given the best conditions, and he's showing it here. They did well yesterday. They finished 11th in the time trial, but they're an hour and 27 down on general classification as a result of their issues earlier in the week.
NAD Specialized doing very well today. Mid-race, they
race as we get towards the business end. Tomorrow is another big day, but today you feel if anyone wants to make a really big move, it has to happen today. 76 k's is not enough distance to chew into a 7-minute lead.
This is Green Mamba now, the hardest climb of the day. We talked about it already.
I saw someone there with a camera and wearing a helmet and a Songoton Info kit. Looked a bit like a 5-time winner of this event before.
I really try hard to be on camera this year on course, and that was a perfect spot.
You are sitting alongside us here. This is the Green Mamba climb, and look who's up ahead. These 2, Cool Harvey and Grotz. When it really gets down to it, when it matters most, they get themselves in the right spot.
Yeah, they knew exactly here they have to be going first into that single trail. It's just a few seconds to go until it flattens out, and as I mentioned, it's more than an hour more and less just trail. Interesting, leading into Welfan Pass, it's on the left side, it's hard surface baked, and coming out it's quite rocky and loose. So
Cannondale Factory Racing together, Canyon, a little bit of a gap opening up there between Lecatra and Heineck.
The 2 boys won't risk anything in these trails, and I'm almost sure Cannondale will come back with the others, but just to be in the lead, have no pressure, for this hour and a half is very, very important, and you can save energy when you ride actually here in the front, and you can control it.
The move here, isn't it? He looked over his shoulder there, just dug a little deeper there, Kulhavi. Grotz looks over his shoulder, and the racing's on here.
And I would love to see even more engineers coming here, because that's probably the biggest learning curve for them.
Absolutely, and they're the guys who do all the science behind it. Now we are live, and this is Cannondale Factory Racing. We believe on the front of the race. Yet to be concerned. Are they in second place? Okay, this is second, so they are still chasing Investec Songo Specialized, but they're in their own race in many ways now. They are trying to put distance between themselves and Canyon. They may well be aware that Canyon perhaps aren't on the best day. Alban Lecata looked as though he was tailing off a bit on Christian Heineck, so they're seizing their opportunity here to put time into them.
I doubt they'll think much about the overall anymore to win the overall. You have it a little bit in your head, maybe there's a big mechanical or a crash, but somehow you also don't want to win like that on the last day.
Cannondale lefty forks on this. They have that the scalp. Oh, there's the lead now. So there are leaders going up the top there.
That must be about, rough guess, 45 seconds. Struggles in the sand, but otherwise he doesn't have a major weakness as long as he can take the draft of Yaro in the flat.
So the word is that the gap is 120 there. Fumic and Avancini, sharing the bottle there. And the word is that they're 120 back, and the group behind them is a further 40 seconds, 2 minutes on the leaders. So there they go into yet more of this wonderful single track. It's wonderful single track, but it's hard work. These guys are absolutely putting everything out there.
Coming back to their fork, another disadvantage is taking the wheel out. So if they have a front flat tire, they have to first unscrew they first actually have to unscrew the caliper, and then they can unscrew the wheel, because just think that he pushed a 340 and normalized power about 370 or 380, can't exactly remember, but insane number actually after so many days of racing. Well,
Ariane was with us yesterday and showed us the reading from Anneka's bike, from her device, 227 normalized power on that A to B stage as well into Wellington. You've got two seriously powerful riders in this group in your team.
Yes, I mean, if you would calculate that power to weight, or let's just say Annika maybe weighs 20% less than Yaro, and then I would think in conversion she would have pushed 260 or something in conversion to Yaro's weight. That his legs seize up, and he can't just like dig through that blockage basically in your legs. Probably rides quite low heart rate versus the beginning, but yeah, his limiter are the legs.
Well, they'd be hoping that maybe they come back, but just the force that the Kulhavi puts into these switchbacks. Now he's up the saddle, just drives up through the switchback, and on they go. They may be able to catch a glimpse if they were to look of the chasers. There he goes, just a look over his right shoulder. He makes it look so easy in some respects, Yaro, but he's also a very physical rider. He's very, he's a big man, as we know, and
you could almost say Yaro is the big, powerful bull in the front, and Yaro and Howard, the little bunny in the back.
Yes. He's that complete contrast. He's very light on the bike, and very light, it seems, Howard, on his equipment.
Yes, also rides a nice RPM, and especially on this climb, it's very important that in the switchbacks that you actually keep the gear spinning. Also in the corners, as long as you're not afraid or you're not gonna touch the pedal in the corner, always keep pedaling in the corner, because whatever spins keeps you upright. For example, if you hold a wheel on the axle, if you don't spin it, it just
Marco pair, and now we've seen the effects of Alban Lecata's problems. Christian Heineck has had to roll back a little bit here and ensure that he doesn't get too far ahead of his partner, who really is battling. Buff Scott between the two Canyon Topik men.
if Canyon's not going to lose too much here, it very likely that they will ride back on the open 10 kilometers.
Pinto and Guerra, the two men from Buff Scott. They look as though they might want to get past Christian Heineck there. And Trek Sellis and Marco. Not sure that isn't the number one.
I believe it's number 2, Rabensteiner.
Rabensteiner and Casagrande, okay.
Casagrande.
There they go. And they've had a good week. But, well, a good start to the week when they were third on stage 1. They drifted out a little bit on the intermediate stages, but yesterday came back onto the podium to find themselves in second place yesterday. Great ride by them. Pinto,
They are about 2/3 into the race with one good size climb to go.
Portuguese rider behind Pinto, giving Guerra, the Spaniard, a little bit of a nudge up the climb. And now we're seeing the effects of the climb on Trek Sellis and Marco. Casagrande and Rabensteiner are starting to take heat as well. This is what it's all about. The Absa Cape Epic does test you all the time. Every single day, at some stage, the combinations, the teams are going to be put under immense pressure to created over the years water. Fly a little bit of air there from Manuel Fumik. Gouged out of the mountainside. This clay-like surface. Trek Sellis and Marco. Quick glance over the shoulder. Make sure your partner's safe and sound. Now Heineck. And now Lecata. I think he's quite looking forward to getting on the open roads, and the last about 20 Ks or so, 15 Ks, 10 Ks in fact, will be on nice open roads, and that'll play into the hands of the powerhouse that is Alban Lecata. But Christian Heineck looks as though his legs, the Czech man's legs, are going very, very well indeed. Sharp left at the bottom. Trek Sellis and Marco back together now. Two teams in the race, Damiano Ferraro and Samuele Porro, were initially their designated number 1 team, but Casagrande and Rabenstein have gone really well this week. Again, another of those short, sharp bends that take you up into the vineyards. And alongside the canyon on the left and the vineyards on the right, it's Avancini and Fumik. The indication of how steep it is, just they're almost horizontal over those handlebars. It's incredibly tough. So on the general classification after the 5th stage, as we ride now with Canyon Topik, Lecata, Heineck on the front. Just to re-emphasize how close it is on GC going into today's stage. 7 minutes and 15 seconds between Canyon Topik and the leaders, Investec Songo Specialized, but behind them just 4 seconds separate this team in second place, beg your pardon, and Cannondale Factory. 2.5 minutes ahead of Bulls 2, Simon Steve-John and Tim Boma. So there's a reason behind Trek Sellis and Marco's animation today. They want to try and move up on the GC to 6th place. Cool Harvey, busy all the time. Looks over. Grotz is with him, as he has been throughout the week on his wheel. Once or twice in those long stages in the Robertson-Worcester area, that how he did find the heat going up a little bit. He'd find himself just drifting back. He does, obviously, he can ride the long distances, but at the tempo that Yaro is consistently, the 4 days, he did start to take a little bit of strain there.
I don't think so. Howie looks very good, and he likes consistent tempo.
Okay.
That's how he actually also trains at home. He doesn't really like to train his weakness, and that's the punch. That's his sprints for the cross country. He loves just doing 4 times 8 minutes flat out, or go Strava hunting at home or anywhere in the world. He also 2 years ago, after
Place to watch the race from. Now here we go, Trek Celis and Marco and Cannondale Factory Racing all together, and this is going to be the race for second. As I said, both have plenty to gain here. Cannondale Factory Racing, Fumic and Avancini, they want to reclaim second place overall, and Trek Celis and Marco could vault up into 6th place on general classification if they manage to get time on Steve John and Burma at Bulls 2. Well, they're not that far behind here, actually.
No, they're not. I wonder how far Canyon is behind these 4. I doubt so. They more than 15-20 seconds. It's a good 5 kilometers, I guess, to go to the finish line, and the Hinek and Alban can still close this if these guys are not going flat out.
Ravensteiner looking over his shoulder there. Would he want to have the Canyon boys there to try and help them out?
Not necessarily. So, I mean, if you come like this to the finish, you have a podium spot guaranteed, and yeah, that's already nice to know. If it's then second or third, it's already mentioned. It's a cool way for the adrenaline kicks in, but once you're over the line, it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah. Well, Michele Casagrande on the front here, driving this little group, and they are working to try and close down Investec Songo Specialized. This is Fabian Ravensteiner just ahead of Stefan Sam. A little foot out. It can be very, very greasy if you hit these corners at slightly the wrong angle and at high speed.
Just imagine Howie for 2/3 of the one stage. He couldn't take his foot out, and yeah, that's not a nice feeling.
Yeah, he had that issue with his frozen cleat, and he couldn't uncleat. Now this is Buff, Scott, and Canyon. Well, they're not going to look. It doesn't look like they're going to close the gap, but Buff, Scott certainly are trying. They desperately like to find themselves back on the podium. Buff, Scott, after their week, they've.
If the 2 front teams don't do tactics, I doubt it comes together, and I also doubt they'll do tactics, because I believe Cannondale will go to the front right away and driving it.
So this is familiar ground. They rode this approach to Wellington on stage 4 when they came across from Worcester. Again, look over his shoulder from Casagrande to assess the damage. They are very close to Wellington now, very close to Huguenot schools. And Cannondale Factory Racing saying, well, you guys can do some of the work here, because we're in 3rd place here. All we need to do is to try and be 5 seconds. That's all they want. 5 seconds ahead of Canyon. They can put themselves in 2nd place going into the grand finale stage. Remember, tomorrow coming to you live again from the beautiful Val de Vie estate, which for the 2nd year will be hosting the finish on their lovely polo grounds. And it's a great place to come. If you're in the area, come down and see these great riders. You've been watching them all week. Come and meet them. Mountain bikers are incredibly friendly, and they'll be only too happy to interact and meet you all.
Today it's hardly no wind in it, so wind really doesn't play a factor today, especially now in coming to the finish in the open roads.
Perfect conditions, absolutely. 3 hours they've been riding. They started at 7 this morning, 10 o'clock now, and so it'll be just see the speed there, 26 k's an hour as they drive on. This is the chase group now. Trek Celis and Marco Casagrande, and his partner Ravensteiner, and the sandwich, or the filling in the sandwich, is Manuel Fumic, number 6-1 there. You see the German champion wearing the German champion colours, and Enrique Avancini, not the Brazilian champion this cycle. He has been before
Interestingly, they haven't changed position since probably 5, maybe even 10 minutes. Yeah, I would suggest it would be better to share the lead here a little bit.
Absolutely, do some work here now. Heineck on the back of this little group that is Alban Lukata, who clearly has had a really hard day today. Buff's got Pinto, the Portuguese rider, sitting on the front with his partner Guerra behind him.
But also here I haven't seen any change over the last 5 to 10 minutes. It looks like they're all happy in the position, or all suffering in the position, and I think I can't lead anymore.
Can't do anything
normally
more.
Hinek is super strong towards the end of stage chases, towards the end of a stage, and he also just sits in now.
And Grotz and Kulhavi have done another unbelievable ride today. Trouble free. And they have got about how many kilometers to get to the finish? About 10 minutes or so. And just assessing all the time. The communication between these riders is what it's all about, between the top teams. The sprint at the finish, the slot for that second place on the podium. But just talking about the communication there, Christoph, between the two. I mean, Yarrow doesn't strike us as a huge conversationalist talker on the bike. How's he got the communication going with Howard in this race?
In general, there's so little communication actually between the teams. It's really just the necessary, especially since the last 2 years when the speed is so high.
And clearly doesn't look, he just puts his head down. Now, here we go, a little bit of a move from Fumik. And Trek saying, well, we're going to be in this say as well. We want to have a little say in how it's going to turn out in second place.
Yeah, they decided to communicate. Hey, let's start pulling through everybody, and that's what makes them faster. At the end, every second can count for that second place in GC overall.
Absolutely, only 4 seconds between them and Canyon Topik, so every second, talk about it.
Also, he can really benefit of his slipstream, and it's luckily not the other way around.
Avancini has been the strongman today for Cannondale Factory Racing. He's really set the pace for his partner. Now he's sitting on the back because Trek, Celes and Marco are turning on. They're going to hit that tar road very shortly. Jaroslav Kulhavi for his young American partner Howard Grotz. Now he's having a chat.
I'm sure they congratulate each other, and little celebration talk.
And they certainly deserve it. Investec Songo Specialized, winners of the time trial yesterday, their first stage win of the Absa Cape Epic. They're in the yellow and they're in the finish chute now as the winners of stage number 6 of the Absa Cape Epic. Here they come. On the right is Jaroslav Kulhavi and Howard Grotz, winners of stage 6 of the Absa Cape Epic. Another dominant.
May, as a spectator, you think they feel confident for tomorrow, but I promise you they're gonna have the most nervous wake up tomorrow morning, and in the race it will calm down, obviously.
It's that's when it as the race gets closer to the finish, the tension perhaps gets even greater than any other stage because you don't want to lose it. Here we go. This is the race for second place on the stage and second place on GC, because Cannondale Factory Racing in here, 4-second lead over Canyon Topik, who are behind them. With them in this little dice are Trek, Celes and Marco, who've done a lot of the work coming into the finish here. Is it going to be handed to them? It's Trek, Celes and Marco who are going to drive for the line and take second place. Ravenstein and Casagrande second. Fumic and Avancini third. That's your top. We've seen him all week. That's all it takes, a kiss on the cheek. Well done, Yarrow. And Howie Grotz, great job by the young American in his second Absa Cape Epic. Casagrande riding his first. Ravenstein has been here twice before. So that's how the men's podium looks for this stage. And we'll have